Ah, the public library. Adios, James Tiptree. Ancestral haven for seekers of knowledge and huge losers alike. You never know what you might find here. Well, books, of course, and possibly a whimsical fantasy adventure which solves all problems even though you didn't actually learn anything from it. Yeah, right, like that had ever happened. But what's this? I didn't know the library had Super Nintendo games. Out of focus Super Nintendo games at that. Has it really come to this? Reviewing old games in the style of AVGN or the Spoony one? Apparently yes, and subject number 1 is the Pagemaster. Try focusing on that for a change. Thank you. Now, as much as I enjoy the current style of encyclopedic logorrheic review that's out there, the way I think about these games is the way I first experienced them, which is renting them on a Friday after school, giving up my hard-earned $3 of 1990s Ohio currency, and then having the game for the next 48 hours, during which it would occupy a lot of my psyche, whether the game was good or bad. Especially if it was bad. Want to play some Pagemaster? So the game starts, and we're in Horror World. We're on a map screen, there's only one level to go to. And it says get ready for the torture chamber for about 5 seconds. Then when the game loads in, it says get ready again. Well, it looks like a pretty standard platformer. I'm running and jumping around like a moron already. Visually, the game looks pretty good. This is 1994, peak Super Nintendo era. More games were released for the system that year than any other. As for what I'm actually doing here, I can pick up and throw this sleeping idiot. Doesn't seem to do much. And while I said the graphics are good, with all these foreground effects, background effects, chains everywhere, it's actually making it difficult for me to tell what I can grab onto, like these hooks in the background. And when I say that, it's somewhat theoretical because these controls are so slippery, I'm having a lot of trouble with it. Additionally, you can tell the camera's floating all over the place. You can get power-ups like these blue shoes that make you jump higher, green gunk to walk on ceilings, or a projectile that looks like a sack of marbles. But I happen to know these are eyeballs. Get hit and you lose a power-up. Get hit without any power-ups and you're dead as shit. I also found this thing, and I don't know what it is or how to pick it up, but I feel like I'm getting demonetized just looking at it. I sound like Colossus from X-Men every time I land a jump, just boom, boom, or like I got a full set of encyclopedias in my britches. So as I'm jumping around very loudly, although I'm giving you a break at home with the sound effects, I start to notice there's more items higher up, and you can do kind of a wall jump. Yeah, at least as long as you have these blue shoes. You just keep pressing the button whenever you're up against the wall, and it's actually pretty easy. Look at me zipping right up here. Yeah, no problemo. Well, I made it up here, and I found a library pass. Or a library card, as it says. I guess you need those for the best ending. And drilled by the same enemy, nice. Eventually I finished the level, where I can indulge my canonical fantasy of being consumed by the autobiography of that one guy from Black Eyed Peas. Back on the world map, we have branching paths now, which is cool, but I don't know which level to go to. Let's try this one. Alright, now I'm making some progress. I'm up to the 4th stage already, but I'm having a lot of trouble with these ropes. It's hard to get on the ropes. It's hard to stay on the ropes. It's hard to get off the ropes when you want to. And it's even hard to climb on the ropes because the momentum is weird. You go from 0 to Donkey Kong and nothing flat and throw yourself off. I can just guess that there's going to be the same setup over instant death pits later in the game. I'm going to do it. I'm going to beat Horror World. Frig off, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. Ugh. Damn. Guess I gotta continue. Weird that it counts down from 11 seconds instead of 10. I don't know what's up with that. I guess this is the spinal tap of continue screens. But what's this? This isn't continuing. I'm starting over at the goddamn torture chamber. And if it sounds like I'm complaining about everything in sight just as a way to avoid playing more of the game, well, you got me there. Come to think of it, why are we even in horror world? Isn't the spooky castle almost always at the end of an action platformer game, not stage 1? I'm so desperate for answers that I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna watch the movie. I remember the existence of the Pagemaster movie, but I was a little too old for it even when it came out, so I never saw it back then. If the game was peak Super Nintendo era, then the movie is peak Macaulay Culkin era, as he had 3 movies out that year. Well, maybe post-peak Culkin. His character, who probably has a name, but I'm just going to call him Macaulay Culkin, is a little scaredy cat baby, afraid of everything, until he takes shelter from a storm in the library, and there he meets Christopher Lloyd, who sort of explains why horror is the first level of the video game.
Evil demons, wretched monsters, haunted houses, graveyards.
The part of the movie that's actually the game takes place after Mac gets transformed into a cartoon. This synthesis of animation and live action was all over the place in the 80s and 90s, and I loved it. Stuff like Roger Rabbit, of course, but also Kid Video.
I'm taking you to the flip side.
And Cool World. And hello, there's a Cool World game on Super Nintendo? How did I not know about this? Well, shit, obviously I'm on the hook for another one of these videos now. While unqualified to diagnose Mac's severe anxiety disorder, Christopher Lloyd does inform him that he must explore horror, adventure, and fantasy before he can go home. So I expect that's what's in store for us whenever I force myself to pick up that controller again. This is also the point where you may be surprised to learn Mac isn't even the Pagemaster. Christopher Lloyd is the Pagemaster.
I am the Pagemaster.
That's what I just said. So I'm not even playing the game as anyone cool. I'm not the Pagemaster. I'm just some dumb little kid. Even if I beat the game, I don't get to be the Pagemaster. Why do you think I read Gore Vidal's historical novels? For fun? Because it's not fun. It was to be the Pagemaster. That was always the goal. And that makes me wonder what it must be like to be the person the character is based on in a shitty game. Like, I assume Shaq played Shaq Fu for about 30 seconds after the check cleared. I'm playing it here for 5 seconds and it sucks more than I could have guessed. But imagine being Macaulay Culkin back then. He was a kid, he probably played Super Nintendo himself. So picture yourself playing a video game where you're more or less just you.
I'm me.
And the game sucks. It's as if you've disappointed yourself more than anyone. Anyway, I'm starting to doubt that watching the movie is going to help me much with this game. I'd like to think you fight a dragon at the end, but I'm not going to get my hopes up for a cool boss fight. Because guess what? Horror World doesn't even have a boss. You just walk onto the exit sign and press start. Some people may remember Pagemaster fondly, but I see it as the end of an era of animated films. There are already some CGI effects in here. Then Toy Story came out the following year, heralding a new style of CGI animated feature. No studio is going to spend 3 years hand-drawing stuff like this again. So, after having learned precious damn little from watching the movie, except about that Cool World game, I'm ready to continue now. Next is Adventure World, and it's based on Treasure Island, so now we're fighting pirates. At least you get a sword in this level, but now I'm an 8-year-old eviscerating fools with a cutlass. It just feels wrong. You might expect me to call the game Ass Master or Piss Master, or say it's turning me into the Rage Master, but the game doesn't have major difficulty spikes. Some levels have tricky sections, but it doesn't feel like the game is getting much harder as I advance. There might be a few more enemies, but with good controls this would actually be piss easy. I'd say the game wasn't designed as any kind of coherent experience though. Just a bunch of things to jump and climb around on until you get bored and depressed, like an abandoned playground in a crappy neighborhood. Shout out to Ohio. You could argue Pagemaster was intended for a younger audience, but little kids are going to have a bad time with these wonky controls. Plus, I found one level that seems to be a dead end. No matter how many times you exit the stage, nothing else opens up on the map. You have to somehow figure out there's a secret exit in the previous stage. This is most likely where you decide to do something else with your Sunday afternoon, and then banish Pagemaster back to the video rental store. Occasionally you'll enter one of these flying stages as a bonus or in between worlds. This flying carpet thing steers like a plow, and I'm crashing into what look like untextured placeholder sprites. Thankfully, the flying sequences end pretty quickly no matter what you do. I can't help comparing Pagemaster to Super Mario World or Donkey Kong Country or other games where you still die after taking a hit or two, but the controls and camera don't conspire to kill you. Exploring feels rewarding in those games. In Pagemaster, it's so ridiculously easy to die to a blind jump or a stupid barrel that exploration is just too risky. Remember, you only get a password when you advance to the next world, and if you lose all your lives and continue, then you start the current world over from the beginning. So why in the name of Dewey Decimal would I risk my ass to find all the library cards? The game's own mechanics discourage you from replaying stages to search for secrets. Incidentally, most libraries I visited only require you to have a single card, not fucking 15 of the things. Once again, I walk to the exit sign and I've completed Adventure World. No boss, no surprise at this point, but it's still bogus. I bet even a game based on the movie My Girl would have a final boss fight. What, too soon? Now we're in Fantasy World and following the legally distinct for copyright reasons Golden Brick Road. The enemies here are a random mishmash of baby dragons, the big bad wolf, and Humpty Dumpty. You get a legit projectile weapon here, which helps a lot, and I finally figured out that this floppy magical schlong is actually a checkpoint. The second stage has a dragon icon, but it's not at all what you'd expect. Yeah, I'm inside the dragon, and not in the good way. This did happen in the movie, but there are a lot of stages where you're up in them guts. This one is called Bowled Over. You are literally shitting me. And there was no need for me to ever worry about climbing ropes over instant death pits, when jumping between hooks over instant death pits is so much worse. This is just an express trip to hell, and I'll see you there, Culkin. Then there's a level on the beanstalk. Ah, fresh air. Then another draconic butthole level. What is going on? Did I go back for seconds? At long last, we reach the end of Fantasy World and the end of the game. Trot to the exit sign in spectacularly anticlimactic fashion, and you'll see an extremely strange end screen. Just check this out. What the hell? That flat musical tone, the creepy way the Pagemaster is looking down on you, even the way it says you've completed the Pagemaster. Like, the game or the guy? Did I just suck off this cartoon wizard to gain my freedom? And then the final insult, a loading screen before the end credits. How about this, Pagemaster? How about I visit the Ernest Hemingway world, equip myself with a shotgun, then I'll come back and we can renegotiate my reward for beating this mediocre game. Playing this didn't really encourage me to read. Almost every book I encounter in this game is trying to deal me death by 1,000 paper cuts. They could have included some hidden books to maybe give you hints, like when I hit that dead end in Adventure World, but no. All the reading you need to beat Pagemaster is a single word: exit. There were a few other Pagemaster games, like one on Game Boy that looks totally different and even worse, and one on Sega Genesis which looks very similar to the Super Nintendo version. I've heard the controls are better, but there are no passwords, and my local library doesn't have that one, so whatever. Oh, and there's also a point-and-click PC game, but we won't be seeing that one either, as I'm currently banned from the library computer lab, but that's a story for another day. Unless I forgot my court date again. Oh, shit. Well, before I go, remember to support your local library, and I'm definitely human. Stop asking.
What happened?
Ay, ay, ay. We look like
Cartoons.